Welcome to the Richard Sage podcast. Now, the name is pending. I may change it in the future, but this has been years in the making. I've been talking about making a podcast for years, even years before I started streaming. Like, I started streaming on Twitch in 2017, and I've been talking about this idea for so long, but I haven't gone for it yet. I didn't feel ready. But you know what? Sometimes you just you don't know if you're ready, and you maybe want plans to be perfect. But sometimes you just got to go for it. So this has been years in the making. I want to thank you all for being here, for listening to this. If you want to drop a like, drop a comment, if you listen to this on YouTube or if you listen to this on Spotify and this is something that you enjoy, feel free to share it afterwards if you like it. And I want to say thank you. So my mission with this podcast is to make an empowering impact on current and future generations. Like, I'm just a normal guy. At the end of the day, I'm 31 years old at the time of this recording. I'm turning 32 soon. I don't claim to be a guru. I don't claim to be a know-it-all. It's just perspective. It's just ideas. And probably 5 years from now, like if you listen to the first episode, if you compare this to episode 150 in the future, if we get there, I'm probably going to have different perspectives by then. So I just want to say thank you. Now, the thing I want to focus on with this podcast is honestly just building a better life by sharing practical insights, perspectives, just for the everyday normal person. And I'm a person who's, come up with very humble beginnings. My life has been pretty good overall, but I have been through a lot of, trauma, a lot of things in my life, and I've learned from those experiences. So I want to share that with you, stories from my life, things that I've done, how I've achieved certain things in my life, and how I plan to move forward with the things that I'm doing. So with today's episode, the first episode today, we're going to focus on the power of walking. Walking. Something that hopefully all of us should be able to do if you have two legs and you have the stability, the knees, and a body that can allow you to walk. We're going to talk about that. So for the past 4 weeks, I've been walking a lot. Now, this is something that, I picked up recently, but, I used to do it a lot back when I was younger, in my early 20s, even when I was a teenager. I used to wake up, go for a 30-minute walk around the town, come back home. But it's a little bit different these days, and I'm going to explain why. So some results I want to share with you is I've lost about 5 kilograms, which is about 10, 11 pounds in the last 4 weeks. And the number one factor that's contributed to that is walking. So what I do is I have something called a Fitbit. It's a watch that you can wear on your wrist. I believe Apple has one too, and they call it an Apple Watch, I believe. And what I do is I track my step count every day. So at the moment of this recording, I'm literally sitting here in my room right now recording this. I'm at 5,674 steps. I went for a 30-minute walk this morning, been walking around the house too, about to go make some breakfast, and I've already started my day with a win. So the reason why I want to talk about walking is because I do truly believe that it can have an empowering impact on just about everybody. Now, if you're in a wheelchair, I understand you're going to have to use your arms to move around. If you don't have arms, then hopefully you can find a way to do some activity. But it's changed my life in just a couple of weeks. And here's how it's changed my life. It's helped me lose weight. It's massively improved my mental health. My sleep has improved dramatically. And overall, I just feel more optimistic and better prepared for my day. So here's a couple of ways that you can implement it if you want to think about it. But before I talk about that, let's just think about the history of humanity. Now, there's a million different points of view, like if you believe in evolution or if you believe in creation or whatever it is, whatever your perspective is, let's just talk about actual walking. So I think we can all pretty much agree on that humans are built to walk. We're built to walk. Now, before the invention of cars, before humans started riding on horses, going on like horse carriages, like think about like just early humans, like humans hundreds of thousands of years ago, even 20, 30,000 years ago, even 5,000 years ago, back to the days of ancient Egypt or ancient Sumeria. We think of humans, how did they get around? How did they go from area to area? They walked, and they walked a lot. So I believe, now this is just my bro science opinion, that walking is just part of who we are. And if we're not doing that, we're not actually being true to our nature. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you have to walk 100,000 steps a day. That's not what I mean. I'm saying that walking could potentially add so much value to your life, and you don't even have to make it like such a big chore. You can implement it into your life in smart ways. So think about this, right? Like, we're built to walk, right? And I noticed that for the past year, 2 years, even 10 years, my walking amount per day was very little. And I only knew the amount I was walking once I started wearing a Fitbit. Now, I'm not sponsored by any companies, any products. This is just what I'm doing right now. Just letting you know that for this episode. Maybe in the future, I'll get some sponsors. Is that I was walking like 2,000 steps a day. And studies have shown, now you can do the research yourself, that they did a big cohort study. I believe it was a cohort study where they looked at groups of people and how much they took steps per day. Now, people that walked between 2,000 and 3,000 steps a day, you know, their health was okay. But what they did is they compared it to people who did 4,000 steps a day, 5,000 steps a day, 7,000 steps a day, 11,000 steps a day. And every single time the step count increased, they saw a reduced percentage in all-cause mortality. All-cause mortality. So that means you're reducing your risk of dying. Like, now that sounds really dark and scary, but you know, life is fragile. So people who went from 3,000 steps to 5,000 steps saw an increase in, well, actually an increase in their ability to live, but a decrease in all-cause mortality. And then it scaled up. But what they found is that once you reached about 17,000 steps, there was diminishing returns. So doing more than that from an all-cause mortality perspective didn't necessarily make a tremendous change beyond that point. So I just wanted to share some just science with you there too. So how can this benefit you? So let's just say you're a content creator, you're a streamer, you're working a 9 to 5, you're looking for a job, you know, you're in college, you're in school, and you just want to improve your health. So I really suggest walking. Now, there's a couple of easy ways that you can do this, and I'll tell you how I've been doing it. So 2 strategies that I've applied to my life. The first one is I start my day with a walk. Now, if I'm lifting weights that day, I will take steps during every set of weights that I lift. So let's say I'm doing a squat, bench, row, bicep curls, whatever it is, right? I'll do my set. And for the 3-minute rest that I take, I will continuously walk in between. I won't just sit down. And what I find is at the end of an hour workout or an hour and a half workout, even a 30-minute workout, I've taken thousands of steps. And right? So just think about it like this. And now it may not sound as attractive as, you know, I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for a huge 2-hour jog. I'm going to do active cardio. Now, I'm not saying active cardio doesn't work. It definitely does, but I want to share some more perspective on it. So the reason why it adds up, now think about this, right? Let's use some numbers here. Let's say you burned an extra 300 calories per day from walking without changing your diet, without other activities that you are doing, including any kind of training that you're doing, just an extra 300 calories, right? Now, if you do the math, now hopefully my math is correct here, 300 calories, and you look at it over the span of a month, right? 31 days, 30 days, roughly around there, depending on the month, right? Now, if you look at the calories, now calories is a unit of measurement for energy. Calories are what we consume from food or liquids. And we burn a certain amount of calories per day, and we need a certain amount of calories per day to live. So let's use the number 300, which is a very, nice ballpark for most people. That's realistic. If you burned an extra 300 calories per day over the span of a month, that is an extra roughly 9. I think it's 9. Actually, Leo, I'm going to pull up my calculator right here. This is the benefit of recording at my computer, is that I can actually do the math. So 300 times 31, 9,300 calories, right? Now, a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. Now, you do the math there, that's potentially, now if you're on a calorie deficit, which means you're burning more energy than you're consuming, that is potentially an extra 2+ pounds of fat loss per month by adding a bit of walking into your day. That's not including going to the gym. That's not including any other active activity. So here's a couple really smart ways to implement it. Here's how I do it, right? So the first thing is I do start my day with a walk. Usually it can range from 30 minutes to 60 minutes. If I have a lot of time, I'll do a 90-minute walk. Now, if you're just getting started, I would not recommend going all out like me. I do have a lot of training experience. You could just start with a morning 10-minute walk, right? Wake up, have water, go to the bathroom, do what you got to do. If you like coffee, have a coffee. If you like tea, have a tea. If you're not into caffeine, don't have caffeine. But just go for a little brisk walk. Brisk is like a nice, comfortable pace where, a good indicator of like if you're walking at a good pace is if imagine you're walking next to somebody, you could still hold a conversation. If you're like, yeah, so I went and bought a new Fitbit. You're probably walking too fast or running at that point. But if you can like, hey, so I went for a walk today, got a new job. You're walking at a good pace. Now, if you don't have the fitness for that, walk at a pace that you can handle. But just start with 10 minutes. Make it a habit, because habits is what keeps us in check. Habits is who we are. Our habits is what builds us as people. So start with a 10-minute walk. I like to go on 30-minute walks, but when I was a lot heavier and not in shape, I'll do a very short walk. But those walks add up over time because your body will adapt. You will recover from it. And over time, you'll find yourself walking a lot and it's going to feel easy for you. So now, from a fitness and training perspective, I do want to share why walking is so good for weight loss, right? Especially if you're a heavier person like me. Now, there's a lot of advice in like the fitness world, like you should do inclined walks at a high pace, go for 60-minute runs. And one of the biggest issues I've found for me personally, and I have successfully lost weight in the past doing tremendous amounts of cardio, tremendous amounts of high intensity exercise, is that number one is that it made it so hard to physically recover from and mentally recover from. Like I had to use so much willpower to wake up every single day to do that exercise. Whereas a walk, it's so easy to recover from. It's something that is sustainable because at the end of the day, compliance is the science. The thing that you can stick to the longest and stick with like every single day is what's going to benefit you than what's necessarily optimal. So I suggest start with a small walk every single day if you can, if this is something that you want to try. Hopefully it benefits you. Now, another thing is, a lot of us, when we eat food, especially like if you're kind of a bit of a lazy guy like me, I reckon a bit, I'm pretty lazy sometimes, is that we have a meal and then we just like lie down and watch television, watch a Twitch stream, watch some YouTube videos. And we get that food coma, especially if you eat a big meal. So a new habit that I've implemented is I will go for a 10-minute walk after my meals. Just a 10-minute walk. And what I've found is if I eat 2 meals, 3 meals a day, sometimes 4 meals a day, hitting my daily calories, that's an extra 20 to 40 minutes of walking per day with a short 10-minute walk. So there are some known benefits to walking. Now, I do highly suggest, and I will put a disclaimer here, before you take on any exercise or any regime, talk to a health professional, talk to a doctor, talk to a physician, talk to somebody that you can professionally trust before you embark on any endeavors. So I just want to put that out there. So here's a couple things that going for a 10-minute walk, even a 5-minute walk after you eat, is it's known to improve digestion. So one thing that I've struggled with in the past is digestion, because historically, whenever I've eaten meals, I would just lay down, have food coma, pass out, and then wake up so lethargic. Whereas now, I eat my meal and I go for a quick 10-minute walk. Now, if the weather's terrible outside, like it's raining, it's windy, and I'm risk getting sick, if it's like really hot right now, like in your part of the world, like if you're in a hot summer right now, I'll just walk around the house. Right? I'll literally just walk around the house. I'll put on my headphones. I'll put on like a YouTube video or a podcast, something like this. And I'll just walk around. I'll put a timer on my stopwatch and I'll just walk for 10 minutes. Then I'll go lie down. Then I'll go have a shower. But I make that a habit because habits are things that you can train into. And I think it takes roughly 21 days to 30 days to form a new habit. So initially it might be uncomfortable. It might not be easy, but in the long term, it could benefit you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is just better mental health. Like if you're able to go outside and get some fresh air, like if you think about it, like we're indoors all the time, like in a modern society. Like if you work a 9 to 5, you're in front of computers all day long. You're looking at PowerPoint presentations. If you're a Twitch streamer, you are looking at screens nonstop. You're scrolling through social media. And I don't know if that's necessarily healthy for us. I don't think social media is bad necessarily, but I think we need a bit of balance. So just going for a quick 10-minute walk after you eat, or just in general throughout the day, can just give you like that little bit of refreshment. Other things have shown that it can improve sleep. So it helps you regulate your sleep better. And overall, it just can improve like just your overall optimism. Now, this may not work for everybody. Some people might prefer, I like rowing. I like riding a bike. The main thing is to get active and moving. The more you can move, the better your life can potentially be. So I just want to say thank you all for listening. So this is the first episode. I really, I struggled with wanting to make a podcast for so long because one of the challenges I've had is imposter syndrome, which is I didn't and still to this day, I do struggle with this, but I'm working on it. I don't claim to be a guru. I don't claim to be a know-it-all. I don't claim to be like the ultimate expert authority on these things. I'm just sharing perspective, just sharing ideas. And yeah, like I've just really had a hard time with like wanting to put this out here because I didn't know if I truly was in the right position to ever say anything to other people, but that comes with self-belief. And I believe, self-belief is something that you can, work towards, build into yourself and just live a more empowered life. So if you like this podcast, feel free to share it with somebody else. But if you enjoyed it, I'm really glad you listened through all the way. This is the very first official episode of the podcast. I will also be including guests in the future. So I want to invite other people onto a podcast where we'll potentially live stream the podcast episodes themselves. And who knows, maybe in the future when I'm making more and earning more, maybe I'll have my own studio and I bring people in person to film and record podcasts so we can better empower people to live a better life, to live the lives that we want. And we are going to cover so many topics. Like this isn't just going to be like a health and fitness podcast. It's not just going to be a speed running podcast, not just going to be a gaming podcast. It's going to be a podcast about all walks of life. And we're going to start there. So thank you for listening. I wish you all a phenomenal day. Thank you for the incredible support over the last few years. I feel like I'm really moving forward in my life. And I want to thank all of you for the just incredible support because it's changed my life. I'm 31, I'm about to turn 32, and I feel like I'm just getting started. So if you're listening on YouTube, drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you want to. If you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, or anywhere else, feel free to like it. I don't even know how those platforms work yet. I'm still learning, nothing has to be perfect. In fact, you know what, bit of a tangent. I'm going to say right now, don't worry about being perfect. Just make adjustments along the way. Like if you want to get your first stream started and you're worried about having the perfect microphone, the perfect camera, don't worry about that. Just get started because when you get started, you're in the game. You can take action. You can learn along the way and make it happen. So thank you for listening, guys. I'll see you on the next podcast. Well, hopefully you can see it like with future video podcasts and I'll see you around. Thank you for listening. Take care. Have a phenomenal day and I appreciate you all.